So welcome to the town hall. Thank you all so much for being here. It's really amazing to see the numbers climbing in as people are joining the live stream. We've packed absolutely loads into today's session, and we're really excited to share with you all what we've been working on across the whole Hoover product suite. The team's been super busy as always, and yeah, it's a really exciting time for us. So yes, hello everyone. A little bit about the agenda that we're going to be covering today. You may have seen this if you've seen our posts on LinkedIn. So first things first, we're going to cover a little bit about what Hoover's been up to, where we're at, how things are going. You're going to hear from Willem and John on that, and then also going to have a whole update on Hoover Commerce and all of the new features that are coming, with live demos, which is an exciting thing, and yeah, lots of product details, lots of detailed views of the roadmaps. Then we're going to get into the very much anticipated Hyvä Certification launch, which we're really excited about. And then we're going to wrap things up with a live Q&A. So if anything that you see throughout this presentation sparks a question or something that you want to know a bit more about, save it for then, and we'll make sure to make time to answer as many questions as we possibly can. So yeah, that's what we're going to be covering today. So looking forward to it. First up, I'm going to pass over to Willem and John, who are going to kick things off with the story of Hoover so far, how things are going and the highlights and what's ahead. So yeah, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, amazing that you're all here. We had 500 signups on a town hall that we announced a little over a week ago because we felt a couple of announcements that we had and ongoing developments could not wait to be shared. We got some very exciting stuff today. Yeah, I'll just give you a little update on how Hyvä as a company is doing. If you're here, the slide should be familiar. We started in 2020, and we're right now not just a front-end solution, but we're going more towards a all-round e-commerce solution based on Magento, and we're building all of these tools to help merchants, agencies, and our ecosystem to build better e-commerce stores built on Magento. We've kind of developed our philosophy around or mission around solving pain points that we see that merchants and agencies have. And we started out addressing the pain points of building front ends from Magento, which came natural because that was a pain point that we were experiencing ourselves, or me as a developer and many of my now colleagues. And that turned out to not only alleviate pain points for developers, but also for agencies and for merchants, bringing down total cost of ownership, better performance, and a faster time to market. And yeah, just a whole new chunk of energy coming into the Magento ecosystem. We started building on Hyvä UI on top of that, ready-made components that you can just put into your Hyvä Team to accelerate building your front end with Hyvä, which provide a better dev experience, even faster time to market, and keeping that performance to an optimum. We built a checkout that's super configurable, extensible, performant, and that allows us to build a whole ecosystem around the checkout as well. Enterprise is a product that brings Adobe Commerce features to Hyvä, so that covers all of the Adobe Commerce and B2B features that they offer. And Hyvä Commerce, which we just announced last November for the first time before we even started building it. And in January, we started building the first features, and we already have been running an early access version of that for little 2 months maybe, and that'll be most of the things that we're going to share today are the things that we've been doing with Commerce and what we have released and what we are going to be releasing pretty soon. And all of this evolves around solving pain points. And with Commerce, I think we're addressing more than just a product that needed to be there, a product suite on top of Magento to make it modern, up-to-date, and also alleviate these pain points, but also to bring something fresh to the community that looks appealing compared to other e-commerce platforms and brings modern-day features to our beloved Magento. The Hyvä trajectory. We've been steadily growing 100% each year since we were founded. We might even exceed that this year, having I think we hired 9 people since January, so that goes very quickly. And our customer base and company size, is all growing pretty fastly, but steadily. We just reached a 5,500 stores live milestone, which is a 10% increase since last February. Things are moving quite fast. So that's an enormous milestone. The amount of packages being installed every day through our partner Packagist is amazing. They've been a great partner from the very first moment that we started offering our products to our customers. We now have over 6,000 Slack members and over 8,000 developers on our GitLab. So just imagine how many people around the world are working with Hyvä every day, touching it. Beyond belief. We're active in 81 countries, and we're doing very well in the Netherlands. You can see we have over 1,200, almost 1,300 stores live just in the Netherlands, closely followed by the UK, US, UK, and Germany. Netherlands being our home country just allowed us to grow fastest, and they were the earliest to adapt when we first started. Among the top million ranked websites worldwide, not just e-commerce stores, but websites. Elfwit keeps track of e-commerce technologies, and we rank place 21 in this list. We're over 1,000 stores among the top million websites worldwide. 0.1% of all e-commerce websites in that ranking is, that's great. And also that numbers, I think, went up with 100 since beginning of the year. So that's increasing steadily. Where actually from this list, there's maybe only 2 other platforms that are also moving up in this ranking. Most of the others are actually moving down. So pretty proud of that. As I said, our company's grown quite a bit. We just recently added Alma and Matthias to our colleagues. Matthias is so fresh that we haven't even officially announced him yet. He's currently working on our checkout integrations, as well as one other hire that will start later this month. So we hired just 2 people specifically for building out the ecosystem around Hyvä Checkout. All of this payment, shipping, tax extensions, and so forth. So that allows the rest of the checkout team to spend even more time on building those extra features and improvements and continuously improve it. And we couldn't have grown this much, this fast without the backing of Molly as our premier partner since last year, November. They're helping us grow in multiple ways. Among one, joining us in going to events and venues and reaching merchants, telling our story and showing them what benefits Hyvä brings to them. So that's a partnership that's working out magically. Some of these events that we will be attending this year, last one being unconfirmed, but we're looking at possibilities. Who would have wanted to go to the Philippines for a Magento event? You can see from this list, and you can scan the QR code and go to the whole event calendar for this year. Quite recent change is that there's a lot more e-commerce expos on this list compared to just Magento events. We're still supporting all of the Magento events out there that we can support. And on top of that, we're trying to reach those merchants and ecosystem partners at these e-commerce expos. And in many cases, Molly joins us in building a great presence at these events. So the K5 conference in Berlin coming up, iWeb later this week, DMExico, which is a big e-commerce event in Germany, where we'll be sharing a booth with Molly and partners, which has proven to be a very great formula at the Webwinkel Vakdagen earlier this year in the Netherlands, where we shared a booth with 8 partners, that had a massive success. Multiple ways to keep in touch with us, thanks to our great marketing department and our community manager, Rebecca. We have Hyvä hotcakes that Rebecca drafts up. every week, sometimes every month, sometimes with a bigger pause, depends on how much news and how busy we are with other things. But anyway, they're always delicious and filled with so many updates and content around our ecosystem. And it's just a great testament of how much is actually happening in our ecosystem and how much our partners are doing in writing showcases, sharing knowledge, promoting their work that they've built with Hyvä. And yeah, it's just a really lively community, and we're extremely proud of what you are all doing with our products and help us build this ecosystem. We have the newsletter, which is a bit more condensed, usually highlights some showcases and other updates, big product updates that we have. So it's also worth subscribing to, even if you're already subscribed to the hotcakes. And you should follow us on LinkedIn, where we regularly post updates on anything we're doing. Over to John to give a little bit of an update on what we have been up to on a technical level recently.
Cheers, Willem. Afternoon, everybody, from a surprisingly sunny England. It's nice to be here with you all. So while today is focused mostly on our upcoming product features and new offerings like certification, I thought it was still worth taking some time just to highlight what we've delivered to date so far this year. And the main one is CSP, or Content Security Policy support, given how important it is for merchants to stay compliant. So for those unaware, in April this year, there were changes made to PCI DSS version 4.0, I believe, which essentially mean it's required for you to have CSP compliance on your payment pages. I won't go into the full technical details, but given payments are the most critical part of any e-commerce website, we've put a huge amount of time and effort into providing storefront-wide support across all of our products. So that includes our theme, the UI library, even our recent CMS, which we'll come on to in a little bit. And obviously, most importantly, our checkout. They all now have full CSP strict mode support. And the majority of our Hyvä Enterprise Adobe Commerce compatibility offering is now compliant. We're just finalising the last parts in regard to B2B. So the team have really pulled out all the stops to make this happen. But yeah, now it's over to the wider ecosystem to try and make extensions and integrations compliant. But obviously, we're also putting resources into this, hence the recent new hires that are just started and due to start soon. And to help with all of that, we have lots of documentation and examples to try and make it as smooth as possible going forward. And finally, on CSP, everything we deliver from here on out, with new products, new features, are all going to be CSP compliant by standard or by default. All right. Okay, so yeah, it's not just CSP that we've been busy with this year so far. We've been ensuring compatibility with the latest Magento and Adobe Commerce versions 2.4.8, for example, as well as PHP 8.4 support. On the UI side of things, we've released some new beautifully designed sliders and accordions, plus modal dialogue enhancements, all with UX, performance, and accessibility in mind. For the checkout, we released our, again, stunningly designed, thanks to our designer Danny, checkout refresh. Again, adding UX, UI, and accessibility improvements. And functionally for the checkout, we've had things like the ability to determine whether fields autosave rather than manually. We've added redirect-only payment method support, and even the ability to have multiple payment methods supported. Plus a few other things as well. And finally, we'll cover this in more detail. We've had our initial versions of Hyvä Commerce released, all relating to our CMS thus far.
Thanks both for that update. And like you say, yes, next up we're diving into Hyvä Commerce, from the CMS to the admin theme to the image editor and optimization tools. And this section I'm really, really excited about. So yeah, I'm going to hand straight back over to you, John, to take us through everything that is Hyvä Commerce.
No problem, yeah, sorry, you'll have to listen to my voice for a little while longer. We've got lots of Hyvä Commerce stuff to go through. So yeah, as Willem already mentioned, Commerce is our all-in-one product suite. It's aimed at merchants with features for both the storefront and the admin panel. As of today, it includes Hyvä CMS. The other features we demo today will follow very shortly. Longer term, it's going to grow even further to include many, many features that you can already see on our roadmap, plus more. So it's powered by Magento, but it not only supports Magento open source, but MageOS and Adobe Commerce. And obviously, if you want the commerce compatibility, you still need Hyvä Enterprise. We're offering it as a simple to install meta package, so all in one, or for the more adventurous of you, you can mix and match. So we're making great care to make sure that things work in isolation and together with everything we build. It is a yearly subscription, but like everything else we do, it has a perpetual license. We'll come on to the pricing a bit later on. And finally, it's obviously built the Hoover way, so performance in mind, developer experience, and great UI, UX, and all the things that hopefully you've come to associate us with. Why Hoover Commerce? Again, Will touched on some of this already, but with Adobe focusing their commerce offering on the higher end of the market, and there's no kind of new real investment in features or innovation for Magento open source, I felt that led to a bit of stagnation to the underlying platform itself. So Hyvä Commerce is here to address that. We want Magento to be a desirable modern platform that stands out against the competition, including all those SaaS platforms I'm sure everybody's aware of. We want it to be inclusive of merchants of almost all sizes with sensible and affordable pricing. And the overall aim, as with kind of anything we do, is to grow the Magento ecosystem and empower both the agencies, tech vendors and merchants to deliver better results. So from a feature point of view, let's start with the first thing a merchant interacts with, the admin panel. So the existing admin panel, we don't have a screenshot within these slides, thankfully, is pretty outdated. It doesn't look particularly pretty. I mean, it is nearly 10 years old now. We think it's important to have a clean, modern admin panel. It might feel a bit superficial or shallow, but merchants care and they do compare against other platforms. First impressions do count for a lot, and existing admin can really put merchants off. And when you're in a pitch process for a new project, you don't want the poor-looking admin panel to be a check against going for Magento. So in terms of the solution that we have proposed, we're very lucky that we have a starting point to build from that's saved a huge amount of time. So we've had to do minimal work, just adding some branding and colours. Other than a few contributions from ourselves, all the shout out and all the hard work for this needs to go to MageOS and a guy called Artem, who's almost single-handedly designed and developed this thing. So thank you very much to you. So to give you a quick tour of this, we can hand over to Sean.
Hi everyone, welcome to the new Hyvä Commerce admin. This is part of our Hyvä Commerce package, and I'm just going to give you a tour of the entire admin. Let's say you want to have a different icon here on the top. Well, then you go to the configuration, go to advanced, go to admin. We can swap over to the Magento default theme logo, and when we click it, suddenly the icon is back to the Magento icon and not the Hyvä Commerce icon. Or if you want to, you can go to custom and actually upload your own icon. Besides that, going back to Hyvä Commerce, we've just simply improved several areas. So in the first example, we're adding more color to the areas, included our own icon pack, make stuff a little bit more alive, a little bit more color. As you can see, the cache is here. So let's clear it. And as you can see, the cache badges are really subtle. They're not in your face. The caches are gone. And this, of course, integrates greatly with other Hyvä Commerce products we have. So, for example, if you go to the media gallery and you decide to edit an image and you have our Hyvä Commerce image editor, it will be integrated. You will see the icons here. It even works with our Hyvä Commerce CMS editor. So if you go into here, you can see that the Edit with Hyvä CMS icon is now extremely highlighted, similar to the page builder. So I now can click it and you get all of the niceties of the rest of Hyvä Commerce as well. And then last but not least, of course, let's go into some categories, because that's always an interesting area to go to. And as you can see, you get all of the niceties from the MageOS M1.3.7 admin theme with the Hyvä branding on top of it, making a really nice experience for your users and for yourself.
Thank you, Sean. As you can see, that's already looking really good. And again, a lot of that credit goes to MageOS and Artem. Also, a quick shout out to Carl. Whilst he is one of our employees, he kindly contributed some of his open source code for uploading admin logos, which we've included, which is great. We want to launch this very, very soon, so watch this space. There will be kind of a more limited roadmap for this particular feature, given the kind of the main goal of making the admin look nicer has already been achieved. We'll add some more UX, UI, accessibility improvements as and where we can. You'll see it used across other products, as Sean already mentioned, and we will also continue to support the default admin theme if you or your merchants, for some reason, would prefer to use it. And also, just to clarify that this is a visual update only, so all existing admin panel extensions and integrations will continue to work as they did before. And finally, on the admin theme, given that we are leaning heavily on MageOS and the contributions here, we will continue to try and support and maintain and feedback to that solution. All right, so from the admin theme over to the admin dashboard, the page that you see when you first log in. Again, it's about first impressions. It's such an undervalued and underutilized part of the admin panel. And again, it's not pretty. If you want to trigger Willem, for example, you just have to ask him about the animation of the default graphs. So yeah, with our offering, we want to make it a valuable resource again, and we want it to be for all different types of admin users. There's not one size fits all. If you're sales and marketing focused, let's show you lots of charts and data that you need across all your different storefronts and whatever else. If you're a content editor or a catalog manager, let's give you lots of information, quick links to create new pages or blocks, or see who edited what page or product last, for example. And it's per admin user, so it's your dashboard, your content. You have control over what widgets you include, what size they are, and how you order them. The other key aim with our dashboard, as with many things that we're building for commerce, is to make this an extensible framework for you to build on and create your own. But yeah, before we talk about that a little bit more, let's hand over to Amanda and Kyle for a quick demo.
Hi everybody, as you can see in front of me I've got the admin dashboard. I'm going to add a few more widgets and I'm going to show how you can organise them to how you want. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight over to the add widgets button and I'm going to select the conversion rates. In this case I'm going to use the default storefront and then I'm going to save it. And you can see it's been added there. And then I'm going to do the same for the launchpad, but in this case I only want to show the CMS links. So I'm going to untoggle all the other options. Oops, and click save. It's been added there. And then finally I'm going to add the recent orders widget. But in this case I want to show the most recent 10. And there you go, you can see they've all been added. But I want to move stuff around, so I click Customize Dashboard, and then from here I'm able to drag and drop content how I want. In this case I want to move things around a little bit like that. There we go. And then I'm going to move this back up here, and then you can even stretch the size as well, like that, to make things a little bit more easy to read. So yeah, that's everything about the widgets so far. And I'll pass on to Kyle.
Awesome, thank you very much. So our primary focus so far has been to develop a framework for creating and displaying dashboard widgets. The aim of this framework has been to provide a simple API that developers, agencies, and extension vendors can use to create their own widgets, and then merchants can plug those straight into the dashboard. As with all our products, we've strived for simplicity, so there's effectively just two parts to this API. There's setting the widget up and then generating its output. If we take this orders by country widget to give you a quick walkthrough of what the developer experience is like, we can highlight these things a little bit more. So if we start by taking a look at its configuration, we can see the admin has a number of options available. And these are currently split into display properties, which control how the widget looks, and configurable properties, which control how it behaves. In this particular case, we can limit the number of countries, group the remainder, and then filter and qualify the data that this widget is concerned with. So if we jump to the IDE quickly, we can take a look at this API implementation in a little bit more detail. So those two option sets that we saw on the front end, they're powered by a couple of PHP functions. They simply return an array that describes those options. I won't linger on the implementation too much, but you can define things like the input type, the value options, validation rules, and anything else that you might need for the front end. And then the other half of the API, the output generation, that is a third function here for display value. And within this function, you can perform all the logic that you might need to do to provide data to the front end. So that could be database queries or external API calls, whatever it might be. Then the only other thing a developer needs to concern themselves with is registering the widget with Magento. And that's done in the dashboard widget XML file. So here we just define the widget, the class that's responsible for its implementation, and then how we would like that to display. This is the minimally required config for a widget. There are other options, but we'll cover those another time. We will have a number of options for display types out of the box that cover most of the common scenarios, but we do have a custom option here where we can set our own template. And once that's done, the underlying framework will stitch it all together and handle the hard work. And that's pretty much it. There's 2 or 3 files, 2 or 3 functions, and you're ready to go.
All right, thank you both. As you can see, it's designed with admin customizability, but also developer extensibility in mind, as well as Carl mentioned towards the end there, being offering those default types that will hopefully make things nice and simple for you to create many types of widgets with a minimal effort. So as you saw, it's been designed with our admin theme in mind again, but again, it will support the default admin theme. It's really close to getting this into your hands. There's just a few things that we want to clean up now. We'll aim to launch with a few default widgets, including a basic Crocs report, so core web vitals data, some reporting around cart conversions and order by country. The Launchpad, which are the quick links that you saw Amanda demo a minute ago, and obviously the extensible framework and the developer docs. So we want to provide a limited set of widgets to begin with, just so we can get this into your hands sooner, so we can get your feedback and help shape the stable release. On top of that, we want to see extension vendors build things in, like their reporting extensions they currently have. We want to see partners like RunVision hopefully build their solutions into the dashboard too, and obviously anything you can come up with as well. So following on from the initial release, we'll be looking at things like being able to search for widgets when you're trying to add a new one, more granular permissions, adding presets by role. So if you use the admin user roles, so again for like sales or marketing or content, you can give them a fully populated, predefined admin dashboard, which they can then go and customize as they need later. And potentially also looking at the concept of having multiple views, so different dashboards that you create yourself and can flip between. And of course, we'll also be looking at creating many, many more widgets. And again, I'd love to see what you come up with as well. Okay, so from the dashboard onto one of the biggest areas of any e-commerce site, content management. So when we first started discussing Hyvä Commerce with our partners towards the end of last year, a better CMS solution was hands down the most requested feature from those sessions. You were pretty clear and very blunt that you don't like Page Builder, so we listened. We realised that quite soon on, that trying to enhance or improve Page Builder was not going to deliver the results that either we or you would wanted. It wouldn't be Hyvä. So yeah, our CMS offering, Hyvä CMS, is built from the ground up with a beautiful editing experience, powerful tools, and all the features plus more that you'd expect of a modern CMS editor. So we've got things that the guys will demo in a minute, like real-time previews, drafts, being able to share previews, version history, document-like editing tools, and many, many more. There are also quite a large number of what we refer to as components. So if you're familiar with Page Builder, these are the content types, so things like banners and sliders. We've also integrated our Hyvä UI library where it makes sense. So things like banners and sliders are powered by how they look and feel within Hyvä UI. And finally, before I hand over for demo, it's fully integrated into Magento. So unlike a lot of the headless CMS offerings that are out there, it's quick and easy to add and find and add your product and category data right there within the admin panel. Okay, so yeah, enough from me. Let's get Callan and Ross to take us through a demo of what it can do.
Great. Hello, everyone. I'll just jump right into it. We can access Hyvä CMS from the pages or blocks. We're going to add support to more areas soon, but for now it's pages and blocks. You can jump right into the editor to create a new page using this button at the top. We have this column on the right that lets you know what content is using Hyvä CMS at the moment. We have a new link here that lets you jump into our editor for a specific page or block. I'll just go into the regular Magento form here. because we have this toggle, as simple as it seems, I think it's quite important because it gives merchants the power to opt into Hyvä CMS when they want to, and that means they don't have to migrate all their content all at once. But of course, they're going to want to jump into it, and when they toggle it, straight away they're going to see a real preview of what it actually looks like, which is a lot better than what you get with Page Builder at the moment. To get into the editor, you just click on it, and here we are. So on the left-hand side, we have our preview. It's a real life preview of what the content will actually look like on the storefront. We have some tools here on the right for managing content, and again here at the top. But for merchants, I think what's really important is it's easy for them to get started. They don't have to, where do I go to edit this? How do I use this? They simply click on the part of the preview they wish to edit, and it will open that field for them. They can start editing it. And that's everywhere, right? So we have this testimonial component. As I click on different parts of the preview, it actually highlights the fields that that the user wants to edit. Then let's start editing. As they type, they'll see changes reflected immediately. So it updates there straight away, and they can undo it as well if they don't want it. Also, we have nesting. So we'll have some banners nested in this column. You can have multiple levels of nesting, so it can go like 2 or 3 levels down or more if you want. We have nesting on like sliders and rows, but you can add nesting to your own components quite easily. And we also have drag and drop, right? So I'll drag this testimonial down also beneath the columns. So it's really nice and snappy. We get these live updates. So let's say I want to save this and go for a cup of tea. In Magento, you wouldn't normally be able to do that, right? You'd have to get all your work done and save it and get it onto the front end in one session before you got logged out, which I think was a real problem in Magento. We've solved this because we have a save publish workflow. So they can just hit save and they'll save their content. And you see there the status updates say it's saved and not published. So they go away, come back, and when they're ready, continue working on it. They can preview it in different store views. They can preview it on different devices. And really powerfully, they can preview it in a new tab. And what this gives them is a special preview URL that they can share with their colleagues and get their feedback on. So their colleagues can look at this content that hasn't been published yet and give feedback to one another. Like, look, this is what it looks like currently, with just a regular URL. And then with the preview URL, you get the nice Hyvä CMS content. Okay, I think we're ready to publish it. So I'll just click publish. It's generating the styles. I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. So now when we refresh the page, there we go. We get the Hyvä CMS content. But let's say they're not happy with that, or they want to revert. They think that piece of content's done. They want to revert something back in their history. They can open their version history, and they can preview content from earlier. They can also say for this piece of content, they can give it a name, sale, so they can remember it. They can pin it, so they don't lose it. It always stays at the top of their version history. They unpin it. They can, so let's preview this one from a while ago. It's named before sale, so the content's going to look quite different. So yeah, they're happy with that. They decide to restore it. There we go. So it's restored the old content. It's generating styles for the new the content that's being restored. So we've been doing a lot of work on generating Hyvä styles. So if you have this enabled, this is getting a little bit technical, but if you want to add custom Tailwind classes, you can go to the Advanced tab and let's say padding top 20 pixels, right? Because this class is not in your style sheet, it's not going to reflect here. But when you hit save, it's going to generate styles for all your Hyvä themes that use this content and then update, and you see it reflected in the preview. Let's say that's not fast enough for you and you're like a super user. You can open our new editor preferences panel. And this is going to have a lot of options, but for now it lets you update your styles on edit. So I'll enable that. And let's put, just for kicks, an arbitrary value in here. And there you go. It updates like that as you edit. Okay, there's a lot more to show you, but I'm going to pass you over to Callan. There's more to show.
Hey everyone, it's great to be doing this. So, just to start with, I'll show you a bit more of like a technical side of just a small couple of different things, and I'll show you some new things if you probably haven't seen them. So just to start off with, we're still going down the same route of keeping simplicity in mind with everything. So it really is 2 files that is all you need to add your own sort of custom components with that you can do anything with essentially. So just in this example, an image is just all of these options in a JSON format, and then all you need is the template to render it. So that's super simple, unchanged for the moment, but let's get started and showing some new things. So to start with, we'll use the new link of just jumping straight into the into the content, and now we can see our nicely sort of formatted content right here. So there's a couple of new things that I want to sort of like show, and in this scenario I want to like select some products. So I want to select a load of different bags, and I'll hit save on that, and that shows up. But if I wanted to sort of go in there, I just don't like the ordering of this. Let's start doing some merchandising, playing around, hitting save. Nice and simple, nice, and that's all updated there. So that's one of the sort of newer things, and as well, something that we've been working quite hard on is like new links. So the way that we handle links is we can now edit the values direct inside of the component on the side, but we can also use the link settings to do some more customizations, whether we want to search for CMS pages, search through categories, products, custom URLs, anything. So we do have some like extra differences than like what Magento actually has, such as like in advanced options, we can add a suffix to the end of the URL. So we could do things such as like price from, price to, without having to pass a full URL. Another thing as well is you're probably seeing custom URL. There's prefixes. So technically we can prefix the store URL, or we can have like mail to or telephone, which is really cool. Something that Magento doesn't have, for example, is this Magento pages now. So you can now use like Magento controllers and stuff as a way of just being able to link in this actual instance itself. So there's so many times in Magento where you've just wanted to link to a contact page, but without sort of like doing a custom link / contact, like that's the only way that you could have done it before. Whereas like now, obviously nice and simple, it's available here to you, and you can like click this and it will just replace the link text there for you. So super nice and simple. And if you're a third party, extension provider or anything along those lines, you can actually pass in your own controllers into this list. And that is really, really simple. You would only need to sort of create one file in your module, just Magento_pass. You pass in the layout handle, the name of the label that you want it to be, and the value. So it really, really is that simple. So from that point onwards, we've got some new things on the go on the sidebar. So we now have the quick actions, well, a lot more of them. So we can now hide a component just like you can in pretty much most other places. And what's great about this is when I hit save on this and then preview, we don't see that. And if I publish this as well, you won't see that anymore. However, it will be kept here inside of your editor, which is really, really fun. So other things as well that we can do now is we can copy a component directly. We can cut a component directly and then probably just paste it in right at the end. So I'll just put that back to where it was. And then we also have some mass actions. So if I hit the select, I can now actually go into, I can now check all of the things that I want to do stuff with. So if I want to cut these items and then maybe just paste them back in or paste them into a child, I can do that nice and simple. So I'll just sort of uncheck that for the moment, leave that as it is. And you'll probably see here a couple of different things as well. So I can actually edit into the component and give this a name and just say, hello. And now it's a named component, so it's easily visible for you as when you're creating content to know exactly what you're editing, what you're hiding, what you're copying, things that should be in editors, really, really useful things. And then after that, a feature which I find incredibly powerful, and it's just going to get more useful as time goes along, is our importing and exporting feature. So again, comparing to Magento's page builder, you can't just simply take the content, place it somewhere else, use it different parts for different pages. Well, in our case, we can. So we hit copy to clipboard, and then from this point onwards, we can just paste in our changes, go to the top, and if it says Hyvä Townhall here, I would just say Hyvä hello. Hit import, and there we go. It updates for everyone. It updates nice and simply. So you could technically take that from one instance and paste it into another instance of Magento, and all your content is there. The only thing that you'll probably need to do is just sort of import your images separately. So that is everything. One last thing is there are other cool things that you can do with it, like existing components that you have, even if you've built them previously over the past couple of months. So you might see if I add a new image, I can now say no image is selected, select an image, and it opens up the component directly. That is nice and simple to do by just adding in a nice simple, render editor message, and then basically it will show the thing that you need to do. So if you've created a row component, it'll basically say, start adding rows to make it preview. But I could probably talk about this for hours, but I'll probably leave it there as it stands. But yeah, that's everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carlin. Thank you, Ross. It's pretty impressive, right? I think everyone would probably agree. I don't know what it is about your demos, but every time I see them, I instantly want to go and play tennis. But yeah, the best part about the CMS is that it's already available now as part of early access with Hyvä Commerce, and it's less than you probably pay for most headless solutions on their own with this level of features. So as you saw from what Callan just showed there at the end, it's also very developer friendly. It's minimal effort to customize, create new components, highly extensible. And again, I've mentioned this already, and I will continue to do so. We want to see adoption across the ecosystem from extension vendors and agencies in-house building their own component libraries. It's probably one of the areas kind of where Page Builder never really took off, was having a strong community of user curated and created components or content types. But yeah, other than that, from our side, we have got an absolutely huge wish list of items on the roadmap for the CMS. So our next focus is getting this to the initial stable release, thanks to all your great feedback that you've been giving us so far. But yeah, some of the key things we want to look at next include, so you saw the versioning. The next natural progression there is to add scheduling, so being able to schedule content for publish at a later date and preview it. Alongside that, we want to add the ability for what we are currently kind of code naming templates and or snippets, final name to be decided. This will be essentially the ability to save and reuse either the structure or both the structure and the content of certain areas, just to make it much easier to reuse things and keep consistency across your content output across the site between different users. And the other main thing that we are starting to look at, but may take a little bit more time, something that we've had multiple bits of feedback on, is multi-language and translation support. So being able to build a beautiful page, get the structure and everything in the right, how you want it, and then without having to duplicate the page or the block, and without having to duplicate all the structure again, just be able to switch store view, go in and change the text copy or the imagery for a particular language, locale, whatever it is that you need to do. So that's something that we've got on the list. Other than that, we've got some kind of smaller things that are still important. We want to be able to allow you to import your existing page builder content for a page or a block directly into the editor. It will get imported as like a HTML code block, but you'll be able to split it out and move things above and below it, so you can start to migrate your pages more easily. And then as well, we'll have more components, so things like videos, maps, and much more, as well as integrations with other features, which we'll come to in a little bit. So that's CMS. Next, the image editor. So this is all about convenience, really. It's about being able to make quick edits to your CMS imagery without having to leave the admin panel. So no external tools needed. All of the features you'd expect to see. I won't list them now because you'll have a demo in just a second. But if you've used anything like the iOS or Android kind of inbuilt photo editors, you'll probably get a good feel for how this functions. So we built it directly into the existing media gallery, which means it supports all existing content areas, including Page Builder. And we'll be adding Hyvä CMS support very soon. But for now, let's take a look. Sergey, unfortunately, isn't able to demo this today, so Rebecca stepped in and done it on his behalf.
So before we get into it, I just want to give a quick shout out to Sergey, who showed this to me, and I'm really excited to show it to you guys today because I think having these kinds of features in Magento is awesome. Here we are in the media gallery of Magento. Today I'm going to be editing some images for my store, and I'm going to be selling hats. I've got some nice images that I've uploaded of my hats. First one I'm going to do is show you the cropping tools. Click these little dots and then click edit image to open up the editor, and I'm going to give this a crop. So you've got lots of options in terms of crops here. You can even do a custom crop, change it to whatever you like, or you can come into your theme and actually pick a crop that's relevant to what you're creating this image for. So I'm going to be creating this for the product page today. So I know it needs to be 700 by 700 and I want to keep all of her in there as much as possible. And yeah, I'm happy with that. And I'm going to save, and I'm going to save as, because I'm going to rename this as product page 1. There we go, I'll click save, and there it is. Now I've got these two images here, and as you can see, it's also resized it appropriately for the product page as well, which is another tool that we've got as part of the image editor. So I'm going to open up the editor again, and because this image is quite big, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize this down to be 1500 pixels, and as you can see, this little lock here means that the height also scales down with it, but you can unlock it should you want to stretch or squash your image. You are more than welcome to do that, and as you can see, it's distorted it, but you're well within your powers to do that, and you can even click save, and then you've got this nice squashed image, which that might be a mistake that you've made. Now the image is squashed, you can quite easily come back here and restore it from backup, which will then bring back the original image. The next thing I'm going to show you is some filters. So this image here, I quite like it, but it doesn't quite have the depth or vibe that I want. So I'm going to come in and have a look at what filters we've got. So let's have a look. There's absolutely loads to choose from. And the one that's standing out to me most, I think I'm going to go with, is Marrow, which I quite like that brightness vibe, but I think it's just a little bit too much. So I'm going to bring it down slightly, up the contrast. No, that looks rubbish. I don't know about you. But what is nice, is that if you do make a mistake or you're not quite happy with something or you want it back, up here you've got undo and redo buttons. So I can just take this back to the contrast that I had originally, which was 0. And then you can see me going through the filters as well. And yeah, back to the original image. The other thing that I'd like to show you is annotations, which I think are really cool. So this allows you to add texts and images and shapes and all sorts on top of your image. So let's say, for example, I want to add some text here that says black hat, and that's $15.99. There we go. Oh, but I also want that to be bold, italic, maybe just slightly lower. There we go. And then I'm also going to add an arrow pointing to the black hat so you know which one it is. It's right there. I can also add an image if I want to, so I can pick from one of my other pictures of these lovely hats. Put that in there, and then I want to add a border to that, nice and thick. There we go. Perfect. Maybe I don't want this image, or the arrow probably is a bit much. Let's remove them. Okay, I'm quite happy with that now, but I'm going to save as, because I also don't want just the annotated image. That will be used on a very specific landing page. So now I've got the annotated image and the original image there. As you can see, it's a really cool feature. There's absolutely loads of options. You can make images look really, really cool, really, really easily. You can change all sorts of stuff, add a little bit of warmth, even add a little blur. So yeah, I hope you enjoy playing with it as much as I do.
Thank you, Rebecca. So yeah, we're excited to see how this can help save merchants some time and see what we can come up, what creations you can come up with. As you saw, it's designed with our admin theme in mind, but you can use the default if you prefer. And again, like the theme, there is more of a limited roadmap with this feature. The initial release is very, very close. We've already shared an early version with our Gold and Platinum partners. As I mentioned, we're currently adding support for Hyvä CMS, so it integrates seamlessly. And on top of that, direct category image integration will follow shortly too. We will consider some more features, but yeah, for now we'll turn our attention to some newer features. But first, the last thing we want to show today is media optimization. So whilst providing the power to edit images is important. What's probably even more important for e-commerce is having optimized imagery to ensure performance. So we want to make sure that that 10 megabyte hero banner image that somebody uploads in the admin panel never hits the storefront again. And our media optimization tool is the answer to this and more. It's a mostly developer-focused tool. And developers will be able to determine multiple sizes that they wish to resize images to based on their purpose and where they're output on the page, and also convert to modern formats such as WebP and AVIF. Like I said, the long-term vision, developers in mind, is an API that can be used anywhere. And again, like I've mentioned on other things, it's going to be integrated across all of our products, Hyvä CMS being a key one, of course, but we'll support legacy content output as well with a kind of a blanket replacement tool for things like Page Builder and any other content that you might have. So for our final product feature demo today, I'm going to hand you over to Len, who's going to show you just how much impact optimizing images can have on your storefront.
So we've been working on a Hyvä Commerce feature that's going to help with pages loading more quickly. Usually the largest part of a page is the images, and by default Magento currently doesn't resize all the images. It only works for product images and category images. However, we've created an image optimization module that will help make sure that your images are being delivered in the correct size and also the correct format. So let's have an example. So here we have a pretty basic default Hyvä homepage made with Hyvä CMS. To show you how the image optimization module works, we're going to add a very large image to our homepage. For this, we're going to use a Hyvä wallpaper. It's quite a large image, 4.5 megabytes, and it also has a large pixel count. So let's save the page, hit publish, and reload our page. And with the module turned off, we're going to see this JPEG image being loaded, 4.5 megabytes. Now let's turn on the module. We have it set to generate retina image where possible, use the GD, conversion, and resize engine, and output both WebP and AVIF formats. We're going to save our configuration, go back to our homepage, and reload. And now we can see this AVIF version of the image being loaded instead. It still looks quite good, and now it's only 218 kilobytes instead of 4 megabytes, 4.5 even. But this is still quite big. I think we can do even better. Now let's edit our image, and let's make it so that it's a size that's more appropriate for our web page. This should be about 1500 by 840. We're going to save the page, publish it, and reload. And now we can see an even smaller AVIF image being loaded. This image is only about 100 kilobytes. And then if we inspect, we can see that the web browser is being offered multiple images, including images that are the resolution for retina displays. So just to recap, our media optimization module supports both WebP and AVIF formats. It supports multiple conversion engines, including GD and ImageMagick, and it needs only minimal configuration to make sure that it delivers the correct image formats to the browser. It has support for retina images, and as we saw, it can make our example image go from 4.5 megabytes to about 101 kilobytes, saving lots of bandwidth. WebP compresses an average of 35%, and AVIF compresses an average of 50%. The actual compression you get on an image does differ per image.
Great, thank you, Len. So yeah, that's some serious amounts of megabytes of data that can be saved. Also, just want to point out on that last bit where Len reduced it from 200 to 100 kilobytes. He wasn't resizing that there in the admin panel. He was purely setting the width and height attributes on the image. The resize, the automatic resizing on the front end picked that up and handled it. So yeah, we hope to have an early version of that to share with you soon, much like our other features. That'll include both the developer API and hopefully soon the legacy content blanket replacement output. Again, with the aim of getting your feedback as soon as we can to help shape our final stable offering. To begin with, the image conversion and resizing will happen ad hoc, meaning conversions will happen on the fly as the page loads. To improve that further, later on, we're going to be looking soon at bulk resizing via the command line interface or CLI, and further again, what we call post hoc or a queue-based approach for even better performance and scalability longer term. So it will kind of request the page and the image sizes, load the page with the current images, but then future requests should get the optimized images after they've run on a queue-based system in the background. And then another key thing that we want to be able to enable you to do is imagine having multiple size versions across different breakpoints of the same image. So you've got a suitable image no matter the device the user's on, and an easy way to declare this. So if you're familiar from a technical point of view with the kind of XML that you use to resize product images in themes, will have something similar that allow you to declare multiple sizes that you can use and set when and where they should be used for even more control and hopefully even more reduced images at the right site at the right breakpoints. Yeah, to wrap up, as noted, we'll integrate this directly with Hyvä CMS. But we also outline some other key storefront areas like the media gallery on the product detail page, where we want to do a more kind of in-depth implementation at some point. And as with everything else that we've shown today, I'm sure there'll be more features and things that we'll come up with later on. But yeah, that's the end of our features, in progress features for today. However, before we wrap up and talk about certification, let's quickly just talk about what else is coming up. So features for Hyvä Commerce that we are not currently working on or are due to start working on that aren't what we've just demoed, plus all of our other products too. And then we'll wrap up with a quick refresher on our pricing. So first off, I'll go quite quickly through this. So a reminder that if you want to see the full list of what we have planned now, next and later, if you like, you can go to our website, hyvä.io/roadmap. So yeah, let's start with stay on Hyvä Commerce just now. So the next features we have planned are category merchandising. So the eagle-eyed of you might notice that Callum was doing some nice merchandising with his products in Hyvä CMS. We already have a base level of front-end output that we can borrow and reuse to create something nicer for category merchandising. So nothing fancy here, but it's 2025. We shouldn't be expecting merchants to order products in categories by input fields. I mean, that probably didn't cut it in 2015, never mind now. So that's what category merchandising will allow you to do. Linked products. This will provide you greater control over how to display product variants in terms of both discoverability and SEO. So imagine a dedicated URL for each of your product variants, and also the ability to list those variants alongside each other on product listing pages. A little bit later, something we still might start soon, but things that are in the next column will take a little bit longer to deliver, is our menu builder. So we want to highly likely to leverage the power of Hyvä CMS to allow you to create beautiful menus, both mega menu desktop style menus all the way through and beyond to things like mobile drill down menus. And later we have other features that we have been highly requested, things like customer segmentation, which again would power content variations in Hyvä CMS, improve login options, even tackling some unloved areas like email templates. So yeah, this is just our current oversight of planned features. The list we have internally is many, many times longer, and I'll go through the other sections in a minute. But if you want to influence any of our roadmaps, reach out to us. Feedback, the more we get from you, the more it will help shape what we think we should do. All right, so next we've got theme and UI. And this is focused on two main areas. The first is improving developer experience and reducing maintenance and upgrades time. So that's why we're focusing on things like Tailwind v4 support and, more importantly, support for design tokens and CSS variables to help reduce the amount of time as you will need to override PHTML template files, which is something you have let us know that you would like to do less of many times in the past. Secondly, like we've done with the checkout recently, we want to give a facelift to many other areas of the storefront to provide a better out-of-the-box experience to build from, and just improved UX, UI, accessibility, all those kind of things. So we have been busy working on the cart pages. We're also going to be looking later at things like the account area, some login, and some product listing and product detail page UI components too. Potentially much later on, we'll see. Looking at some tracking improvements as well for things like how to load Google Tag Manager in a performant way. Next up, we have checkout. So our next focuses are to improve how addresses are handled during checkouts, saving new addresses on order placement rather than on the fly. So it's more like the default implementation. And along with that, we're going to have a push on integrations, especially CSP compatibility. Again, why we've recently introduced some new hires. Following that, we want to look further at address forms for shipping and billing and how those attributes are handled. And then there'll be some more UI and UX improvements, so more out-the-box layouts that we want to offer to give you more choice, as well as integrating customer login and registration so you never have to leave the checkout to perform those actions. Finally, we still have a handful of default Magento features that we'd like to get compatibility for, like pickup in store, excuse me, and stored payments. And then finally from me, Hoover Enterprise Roadmap. We have, so as mentioned earlier, we've got the final CSP releases for B2B, and then we'll be looking at B2B 1.5 compatibility. So this includes some newer features such as negotiable quote templates and a few other nice additions. We'll be finishing off the gift registry functionality for Adobe Commerce for both the theme and checkout. And then after that, our focus will mostly be on getting all the last bits to general availability. Yeah, that's kind of enterprises. We've even though we've still got a few small feature areas to finish up, we're still pretty confident that our enterprise offering is the most superior kind of for Adobe Commerce in terms of the fact that Luma doesn't really get any innovation these days. And when it comes to key areas like B2B that many people choose Adobe Commerce for, there's not yet any coverage in any of the new storefront offerings from Adobe. So yeah, we've already got the most performant solution for Adobe Commerce. We're not far away now from having the most feature complete and bug-free solution as well. With that, we can pass over onto pricing, and I will pass you back to Willem.
Thank you, John. Amazing job. It occurred to me based on a comment in the chat, someone asked, what is even CSP? Content security policy is a measure to accomplish PCI compliance to make your front end more secure for interception of credit card data and such, which is rapidly becoming a requirement for many merchants when you're processing high volumes of transactions. Vinay actually worked almost 8 months, I think, on making our product CSP compliant, so to come up with a framework that we can use to implement to make the upgrade as swift as possible to CSP compliancy, which unfortunately was introduced some backward incompatible breaking changes. Vinay had a presentation at Hyvä Dev Paradise, which is on our YouTube channel, where he explains why CSP is important and how we implemented it and what you can do to adopt those changes. So just wanted to add some context to that before moving on and talking finally a little bit about our product pricing. Hopefully it's clear with everything that John laid out from the roadmap that we are dedicated not just to the shiny new thing that's Hyvä Commerce. Our existing product line is very much important to us and for our customers to keep up to date and to keep improving. That's why we're scaling the company to be able to work on more products at the same time. And importantly, that also means like our existing product line remains where it is. Hyvä Team and Hyvä Checkout and Enterprise remain separate products where you can buy separate licenses. However, with Hyvä Commerce, we've decided to include the team and the checkout in the licensing. And if you already own one of those licenses or both, you get a cashback when you upgrade to Commerce. So even if you already had 4 years of incredible value for your Hyvä Team license, you can trade in that license when you upgrade to Hyvä Commerce, and you get €1,000 reduced on the first year of your subscription. So Hyvä Team and Checkout are no longer needed as separate licenses when you upgrade to Hyvä Commerce or buy a new license. Hyvä Enterprise remains where it is. It will work nicely on top or wherever you want to place it alongside with Hyvä Commerce. And we try our best not to have those products conflict. And in the cases where we're working on the same area as Adobe Commerce might be, customer segmentation will allow you to choose whether you want to use our segmentation or the one that comes with Adobe Commerce. That should long-term continue to work together for as long as we're able to build it that way. You can still buy the license separately. Enterprise is not part of Hyvä Commerce, Adobe Commerce. No, Enterprise is not part of Hyvä Commerce. We currently have an early access price for Hyvä Commerce because there's not so many features, and Hyvä CMS is still in early stages, and we're still potentially introducing some backward incompatible changes if you upgrade. But we reduced that to a minimum. But we're very close to a stable first release for Hyvä CMS, which will also mean that we'll be ending the early access price, and that will fall probably quite close to the date where we also introduce the other features that we've just demoed in the past hour. So we're offering the reduced price for Hyvä Commerce, $2,500 per year for the first year. After that, it's $3,000 per year. The reduced price is as a thank you for buying in early on our product and offering us very valuable feedback while we're still heavily in the build mode. And we think the value that we're going to offer for €3,000 per year for the whole product suite, Hyvä Commerce, looking at the CMS alone, we know many merchants already paying more for third-party SaaS every month. Right now, Prismic, Storyblock, depends on your setup. That price might already exceed the pricing for Hyvä Commerce, let alone with all of the features we have in the roadmap that we're going to add. So we think the value is incredibly high for just €3,000 per year. And as with all of our licenses, it's perpetual. So if you decide not to renew after a year because you don't need updates or whatever, you can keep the last version that you've paid for. And it's up to you whether you want to keep subscriptions for updates or not. So that's all on pricing. And let's move on to something super exciting that we've also been working on for a very long time. And I'll give it back to Rebecca to do the proper introduction.
Thank you. Yes, I know this is a moment that some of you have been waiting for, the official launch and introduction of the Hyvä Certification Program, and I'm excited to hand over to Vinay, who's going to share everything that you need to know about the new certification and how it's come about.
Hey, thanks, Rebecca. Hi, everybody. Yeah, this is really exciting. I'm really happy and proud to be able to launch the Hyvä Certification Program, which is something I've been wanting to do for years. And now it's finally coming together. Yeah, we've been asked by partners multiple times to, are certifications coming? And well, now they are. So the certification program has multiple goals. For one, I guess, for partners, it allows them to stand out amongst others, right? Depending on the number of certified developers you have. You can show that you're actually a Hyvä-focused agency and tech partner to be able to know what you're doing there. And at the same time, it encourages in-depth learning for developers. Because if you're like me, then sometimes things just need to get done. And I build something, and as soon as it works, I move on to the next thing, right? At least that's more or less how I used to work, well, sometimes before I joined Hyvä. But it's always fun to actually go a bit deeper and look how things really work and spend that little bit of extra time to come to the bottom of things. And this deeper level of understanding is what I meant to say there. That's actually encouraged because it will certainly help you with the certifications. Of course, it's useful in the hiring process. So for one, as a developer, I can stand out if I'm certified amongst other CVs. And for companies hiring, if I look for, if I have a bunch of applications, I can already maybe pre-sort them based on certification or not. As Hyvä, one of our goals here is also to raise the quality of Hyvä builds all over, because the more people know how to build proper Hyvä sites using all the features, all the optimizations, doing it efficiently, all that will improve things like core web vitals. We have fast builds, secure builds, etc. And that in turn helps things like Hyvä, how it's listed in different metrics, and will basically improve the visual, how the brand Hyvä is perceived, which in turn helps selling Hyvä, right? So we'll raise the quality of Hyvä builds, improve the industry perception to be more professional, right? The first certification that we're now releasing today is the Associate Developer Certification. This is an entry-level exam. So if you've been working with Magento and Hyvä for some time, chances are you'll probably find it, let's say, easy, at least if you feel comfortable in a certification environment, because some people just don't like doing certification. I get that, but it's generally not meant to be super hard. But it does require showing and demonstrating that you know what you're talking about. So if you don't know anything about Hyvä, or if you have very limited Magento experience, it's going to be pretty hard to pass. Once you pass, you'll get a shiny, nice Credly badge to show on your profile, maybe on LinkedIn, wherever, to show off. And it's linked to the individual there, right? So it's not a thing of a company. It's linked to the developer, because that only makes sense. And from what it covers, it's a mixture. Some things are Magento specific, so front-end theming in Magento, things like layout, XML, templates, theme inheritance and such. And then, of course, there's a lot of Hyvä specific knowledge, and that's certainly the majority of the exam. So how to use the Hyvä stack, like Alpine, Tailwind, but also things like modal, sliders, etc. And then there's also a generic front-end development specific section in the exam, which is mostly around front-end performance. So how to fix things, common errors, how to resolve them, etc. The price is 200 euros, and if you happen to fail, there will be a reduced rate for retakes. We're still figuring out how to do that automatically. For now, if that should happen to you, please reach out to us and we'll set you up so you can have a reduced price for the retake, maybe 75 or 50% off or whatever. We'll see. We use an online testing service provider called Criterion with their platform Web Assessor to test. One thing, they proctored the exams, so somebody is watching while you take the exam. And just be aware that it's good, clear the table, and maybe your exam might be interrupted, because if you get flagged for some reason, maybe looking to the side or something, be sure you can show your room or your table if you need to, if you're asked to do so. And then, of course, it's useful to show, okay, there's nothing on my table, I haven't got my iPad next to me to cheat. That's what proctoring is all about. Yeah. So, to get started, we have a study guide. You can find the study guide and further links at hyvä.io/certification. And the study guide is a PDF, very nicely designed by Danny. And you can see, which areas account how much. It gives you a couple of sample questions, etc. But I think the best start to learning what to learn and to get it into details is currently the developer docs. So go to docs.hyvä.io and find out more there. More content will be coming. So we're recording YouTube videos or videos published on YouTube, that will be published on YouTube, that will cover, over time, they will cover all the topics that are part of the exam. And but in effect, if you go to hyvä.io/certification, you'll find also a link to Criterion, where you can purchase and schedule the event, the exam. So, big thank you to all our gold and platinum partners who participated in the early access. So many of them jumped on the opportunity to get their developers certified. Many already have certified developers in their teams, and we're super grateful for the enthusiasm that they took this opportunity and all the feedback they provided. It's been super valuable. And if this were an in-person event, I would ask everybody for give a big hand, a big applause to all the developers who already are certified right now. So this is an online event, it doesn't quite work that way, but still, kudos to you if you're already certified. That's great.
I can provide some clapping.
Yeah,
there we go. Here we go. Look at this. Congratulations, everyone.
Excellent. Yeah, so this is great. Thank you very much to all our amazing partners. Okay. They also gave some very nice feedback on the exam already. So these are platinum partners who already have certified developers. That's from yesterday morning. Today there already are more platinum partners with certified developers, but sadly time-wise it just didn't work out with building the slides to add all of them. Still, thank you very much. I won't read these quotes now. You can look at them in detail in the recording. So yeah, let's move on. Okay, so what's coming? Certifications will be part of the Hyvä Partner Program. So depending on the partner tier, you will be able to get partner points depending on how many people are certified in your teams. And that will, of course, also expand over the different certifications over time. But we'll announce upfront how that will work in time, so you'll have time to get there. We are also planning to do some on-site testing at events. So just like you might have seen in the past with Magento U at Magento events, you could go there and take an exam while at an event. So we'll do the same. And we have other certifications planned, for example, an expert level developer certification, something like a Hyvä Solution Specialist certification, and potentially more. So we have many other ideas, but I'm pretty sure these will be coming too. The expert level developer certification we'll probably be releasing next, probably sometime this year. But as always in Hyvä, we don't actually publish release dates up front, because we'll do that when it's ready. So thank you very much. I'm really excited about that, and yeah, looking forward to speaking about it with you all soon. Thanks. Back to Rebecca.
Thank you, Vinay. And now we're on to our final section of the day, which is, again, I think something that we're all probably keen on. It's a live Q&A with the team. So if you have had any questions, please feel free to send them in the chats now. I've just opened the chat and it's been very, very busy. So if you've asked a question previously, we're probably not going to find it again now. So if you do still have a question that wasn't previously answered, now's the time to send it in. And there is actually, I think the first one here we've got, is there any default ADA compliance tool extension for Hyvä?
I'll admit that I'm not the expert on accessibility and the levels of compliance. We do have people working with us that are very familiar with those standards, including our own Sean and Amanda, our front-end developers, who do their very best to keep our core products compliant out of the box. However, compliance is always the responsibility of the implementer or the store owner. So running these tests on your implementation should be done by yourself. I believe our colleagues have some tools that they also use to assure compliance, that we're building things in a compliant way. But I'm personally not, I don't recall what the tools are that they use. I think it varies. It also really depends on which level of compliancy that you're aiming for. But I think that if you need to be compliant and you don't have someone working with you that knows the ins and outs, it's highly recommended to work with someone who can assist you with that. Yeah, we continue to work to stay compliant as well as we can out of the box and improve wherever we get feedback that things can be improved. That all started with a big contribution from Snowdog, shout out, in Poland. They had a couple of employees working with us for almost a year, getting loads of reports through to improve, and ever since Sean and Amanda have more or less taken over that responsibility. And tools only go so far. They're not as intelligent as manual testing by someone who actually knows the rules. So in a nutshell, talk to someone specialized in the compliance that you require.
Thank you. And then we have another question, which is, new to Hyvä, do you plan to offer training for the certification path in the future? Which I know the answer to is yes.
Yes. If I can jump in there. So we are building a Hyvä video tutorial series covering everything that will be required for the certification. But we are also planning to use that in turn to build training material that people then can use in some way for internal company trainings or maybe external trainers, etc.
Yeah, we're working on that for the team. We're also working on that for checkout. And we'll make sure that whatever we build will get some level of coverage in training material, always starting with proper docs. We're adding videos to that to make it easier to learn if that's your favorite medium.
Yeah, definitely. Next question from Simon. That was from Eric, sorry. Next question from Simon. Did you check if the new admin theme improves core web vital values in the back end?
I can answer that. The short answer is no, we did not. Main reason being that core web vitals and performance is generally more focused on the storefront where your customers are. Not that it isn't important for the admin, but the MageOS theme and our theme that extends from it, it's essentially, this will probably answer another question that was asked earlier about whether it uses Tailwind, and the answer is no. It's still less. There are no changes to the admin theme. It's still the same framework that it was. It's just different styles, essentially. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect it to have any major impact on core web vitals values if you were to test it. Yeah.
And then I'm going to struggle to say this name. I think it might be Kyle, but any reason Hyvä CMS schemas are JSON and not XML like found everywhere else in Magento?
Yeah, so I can take this one. So when building it, we did look at both options, and we went in depth and tried it with both options. One of the big things that we found is that when it's in JSON, it gives us a lot more flexibility. That in the terms of whether someone builds a migration tool from an existing third party, from like Storyblock or Prismic, it makes it easier since they all run on JSON themselves. And in the scenario where if we, in the future, whether there's any extra tooling and stuff to even build components without having to sort of touch it, it gives us the flexibility to do so in the future. I think JSON is the real modern way of sort of doing things, and if we went down the XML route, it would be a lot more you want to build components quite quickly, and if you were going down the XML route, it would add so much more complexity to it. And you could probably see at the moment that we even have managed to build in some custom error messages and stuff just to the JSON structure in itself, and we can do those checks a lot easier. So there are a lot of benefits to it. There's benefits in the sense of it being XML, being a bit more structured, being a bit more closely aligned to Magento, but we felt as though that JSON actually gave more opportunity for the future.
Thanks, Colin. Beshev wants to know, are some modules part of Hyvä Commerce? Can they be decoupled and used separately, like image editor, for example?
Yes, as we mentioned right back at the start, we offer a meta package to install it all in one go, but you can also install it module by module. And as I highlighted, we are working to make sure that everything interoperates nicely when installed together, but also works isolated when installed on their own.
Lovely, thank you. Will the image editor support custom fonts, is a question from Andre.
Not quite sure what that refers to. If it's for
the annotations, maybe.
The annotations, we would probably have to go and have a look and find the answer for you. So the image editor is actually built on an open source library called File Robot, if I remember the name correctly. There's lots of configuration that you can change in there. For example, the sizes that Rebecca demoed in terms of like preset crop sizes, those are all configurations. I wouldn't be surprised if there's something similar, but we'd have to go and investigate for you and have a look.
Yeah. Design tokens and CSS variables, does it mean that we have the next version of the Hyvä theme and migration will mean rebuilding the design part? It's from Andrew, which I think means... you got that, sorry.
I can pick that one up if you want to. So we are working on... we value backward compatibility a lot, and we are already... During the last couple of releases, we have taken steps moving towards supporting design tokens through CSS variables. We are working also on ways to migrate. There will be some changes, but we definitely will avoid having to rebuild the design part, right? Especially your config. There'll be migration tools there. We want to make it as seamless as possible. That's all I can say for now, but we definitely are not planning on something where you have to rebuild everything. That would just hurt too much, and we're very much opposed to that.
You could more see it like an enhancement on the underlying level, where everything that you haven't touched in your child team is enhanced with tokens, while anything that you've implemented where you've used the current way to add classes will just work as they have always worked, so that wouldn't necessarily break anything. And with anything that we release that has the nature of breaking backward compatible things, we spent many months preparing in tooling and writing up the right upgrade path so that it's as pain-free as possible. With CSP, we have tools that generate a report telling you exactly what you need to update. With previous Tailwind updates, we had command line tools that would generate all the updates automatically on your team. It was a single click that was 99% covering all of the changes that you would need to do. So with these kind of things, we're really, really careful not to put the burden on the merchant that needs to pay for an upgrade that doesn't bring him any value except for, something new in underlying technology. So we're very careful with that.
Thank you. Another question from Bashev. Do you plan to make something like a public directory for modules, free or paid, something like the Magento Marketplace?
We have been having this discussion with our community and ecosystem members for quite some time. People obviously would like to see something curated from our end. Building an entire marketplace, we've seen throughout the years how much effort goes into that from Magento and Adobe. It's a huge, huge investment and very hard to do right. So that wouldn't be something that we could chew off today or tomorrow. So in the case that we would have some kind of curated offering of Hyvä compatible modules, that would be more in the form of a referral site or a catalog where you can see modules that have been reviewed by us and which would have review scores from verified users of those modules. I think that would provide the most value when you could actually see how well people think these modules are working, how well coded they are, the effect that they have on performance. And that's already would be quite an undertaking to build something like that, and we're not exactly there yet to have the resources to build that. But help us grow fast and we'll implement that as well.
Excellent. And then we have a question from Tim. Will having certified developers add to your partner score? And I can answer that one in that, yes, it will impact your partner score. So there will be some positive reward for having certified developers for partners. I can't share exactly how that's going to work right now. We're still in the process of sorting through our partner program, obviously with our new team onboarded, with Tom coming on board as partner manager. So yeah, expect some changes to the partner program for Q1 2026. And yes, certifications will be involved in that. And then another question from Bashev. Admin theme grid will replace UI components in Hyvä Commerce admin in the next release?
Short answers. Oh, sorry, go on, Benna.
Please go. Yeah, okay.
Well,
no. The reason is we're keeping UI components because all the existing extensions use UI components, and all the existing extensions should pretty much work with the new admin theme. So if we were switching over to a different implementation there, that would break all existing extensions, and that's didn't seem like a good idea.
Thank you.
So
John.
Just to add to that, to retain the compatibility, but for anything new that we might add, so for example, we talked about linked products as a new feature earlier, that will have an admin grid we'll have an admin grid to manage your product links, and we may decide to use Hoover Admin for that. We haven't decided yet.
Bro, thanks, John. A question from Alex. As a developer, I'm sold on Hyvä Commerce 100%, but I'm thinking about the ways of convincing the merchant they need this. Will there be any publicly available demo of admin, CMS editor, and so on for the merchant to play with?
Not immediately. Again, that's a matter of setting these things up and not having to go into that environment and clear the database every hour because it's filled with spam. It's not something that we have the time or that we're not equipped to do today. We're trying to fill that gap by creating proper instruction videos and demos while we show all the capabilities of the latest version, and presenting it as much as possible in presentations like these. And also with this, we want to increase the amount of content that we create specifically for merchants. So we talk a bit more about the merchant value and explain to them what it brings, what benefits it brings to them, instead of just talking to a technical audience, talking about how nicely we've built it. So that.
Thank you. The next question is, are there any plans to change the admin theme to Tailwind from less? Covered that a little bit earlier, didn't you, John?
Yeah, short answer again, no, from an extensibility and existing module compatibility point of view.
Yeah. We also got asked by Alfred, who's curious how many developers have managed to pass the certification across all of the gold and platinum partners that engaged so far.
Yeah, I responded to that in chat. There's a little over 50 people that have passed the exam, and the success rate is, or the pass rate is over 90%, and I won't be more specific than that. But it shows like it's very well balanced.
It's doing its job. You have to get 70% correct of the items in the exam to pass, just to add to that.
Okay. And it wouldn't be a Q&A without at least one question about AI. Will you add AI image editing? It's from Jens.
It's not currently on the roadmap. I think we'll leave that for now up to the extension ecosystem. I think the battles between the different AI engines, LLMs, is still so lively that picking one over the other is tricky. And I think that exact value wouldn't be that high to have straight in the admin, and not at this time. I understand it might look flashy or exciting on a feature list, but yeah, right now that's not something that we're looking to include. But as we all use AI in our daily lives to some extent, and it becomes more common, I'm sure that one obvious solution will rise, and we'll integrate it at some point. But there's already plenty of modules out there, both open source and paid, to get like generate product content and have an AI assistant in the admin or in the front end. Like the Magento community is doing its work there, and that also makes me feel that's not a gap that we need to jump into right now because it's being solved by the community.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question from Rentec. Will the JSON come with schema, and is there a particular reason that it's not in the view directory?
I can take this. So by schema, I guess you mean like how you write it. We do have that in our docs. We have the schema all laid out, how you follow it, and we have some nice error messages as well. That if you are creating a component and you make a small mistake, like perhaps you misspell HTML in a template file, it will give you an error and it will tell you exactly what part of your component's JSON is responsible for that error. So it gives you instant feedback as a developer so you can correct it quite quickly. In terms of why it's not in the view directory, it's a good question. It was a while back since we made that decision. I think it would have been because, it's not just a view file. It's actually like a configuration for the admin, for like the editor itself, which is not pure on the front end. I suppose you could think of it the same way as widgets.xml is not in the view directory as well. So, yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Thanks, Ross. Frontline have asked, not sure if I missed it fully, but if we go with the Hyvä Enterprise per year license, we don't need to renew every year, only should we want new updates in the package.
Yeah, I also picked it up in chat already, but I'll repeat. All of our licenses are perpetual, so that means the ones that come with a subscription, like Checkout and Hyvä Enterprise and Hyvä Commerce, if you stop paying, you keep the latest version that you've paid for. You can renew your subscription at any time. However, we don't allow you to skip support period. So if you decide to jump back on and get the latest updates, you will need to catch up with the period that you did not pay for support. Otherwise, you can try any of those products for the first year, and if you do not like what you get or you feel you're no longer in need of updates, you can choose not to renew.
Thanks for that. And Ski has asked, is there a certification plan for merchants and their teams who don't necessarily have a lot of experience with Magento and or Hyvä?
To answer that, we are planning to do a solution specialist certification. If you say don't have a lot of experience, to pass, you'll require to know the answers to the questions. So potentially you could learn them without having experience, even though experience will definitely help. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. And it's one of the things we talked about when we first mentioned the certification program. It'd be nice to have certifications for admin users and non-developer folk. So yes, we'll be in support of that. Apar has said, I've been saying Hyvä for 2 years. Will we be banned?
No.
No, you can pronounce our name however you like. It still catches me out sometimes.
Yeah, I still hear new ways to pronounce Hyvä around the world. When we got to France for the first time, Meet Magento France in Paris, I also was caught out by different pronunciations that I hadn't heard before. And it just always makes me think of Adidas or Adidas or Nike or Nikkei, as they said it in Greece, different around the globe. I'll allow any Hyvä, whatever you want.
Thank you. I think that's the last question that I've got to. So we're coming up to the end of the session that we'd booked out anyway for 2 hours. It's a long time to be all talking to you. We've had one more, and it was, what's the story behind the name? And I think Willem, you'd be a good one to ask that.
Yeah, I lived in Finland for a couple of years, and when I founded Hyvä, Hyvä really resonated with me because it embodies everything that's positive and which I hold dearly from my time living in Finland. Good, desirable, trustworthy is all what we as Hyvä stand by and what we want to bring to our ecosystem and our beloved platform Magento.
Well, yeah, I think that's a nice place to end it on. So yeah, thank you all for being here. Apologies for the technical bump that we had in the middle there, and thank you for staying with us across the YouTube links and Riverside and LinkedIn, wherever you joined us from. We appreciate it. So yeah, if you've got any other questions or if anything pops up whilst you're watching this, if you're catching up and it's not live, feel free to message us on Slack or LinkedIn or anywhere else that you can find us. We're more than happy to answer any of your questions whenever they come in or however they come in. So yeah, thank you very much all. It's been lovely hanging out with you.
Cheers all.
Thank you very
well
much.
Well done to the 200 people that sticked all the way to the end of the Q&A. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.